Yeah, I don't want to just be disrespectful of the Knights. But
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Naggy. I'm here once again with my fuzzy little friend Liam McNeil. Liam, it's good to be with you.
And also with you, Naggy.
Liam, we got that. We asked for the game. We asked for the greatest rugby league game of the century, and we got it.
We did. We got it, and we wanted it, and we asked for it, and boy, aren't we regretting asking for it.
It was a very, very tough game, Liam, and it's one we're going to jump into a little bit later in the show. But first, it's time for the news. They always had the drown out sound.
They do. The drown out.
Well, there's an industry term, the drown out. Liam, there is a player that has played for the New South Wales Blues.
The New South Wales Australian Kangaroos.
Both of those who've decided to throw in the towel. Retirement. Liam, Jack Whiten has decided that he's going to retire from representative football. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm very glad that he threw in the towel instead of allowing himself to be beaten to death by a large Soviet man, as Apollo Creed did. I think it was a good time to throw the towel in before he died, in fact. But,
of course,
I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Now, you know our thoughts on Origin.
Yeah.
We live for it.
Pinnacle of the game.
The pinnacle of the game. We live and breathe it. There's nothing better in this life.
Grand finals are great.
No, they're not.
But the grand finals are all right. But for those teams and those supporters who haven't had the grand final, haven't tasted, haven't felt, haven't had even a whisper of it
it's
in
a very
their
sensory
dreams,
experience, a grand final.
the other thing that we've always had is every year, quite possibly, New South Wales will win State of Origin.
Well, there was a couple of years where it wasn't possible at all, I'd argue.
Yeah, but we had the feeling, though, there was 3 games. We can't win a 26 match plus finals competition, but we can win a 3-game series, maybe by chance. We're due.
That's the best way to win.
That's
by
what
chance.
That's what we said from 2006 to 2014. We're due anytime.
Sheer happenstance was the only way we got a victory in those years. Nothing but happenstance. But Naggy, is
there timing involved in this, Liam, where possibly Jack Whiten, at all points of his career, he's 30, because all players are either 22 years old or 30 years old.
Except Alex Johnston.
Except Alex Johnston, who happens to be 25, 26, somewhere around that number.
Just not 30.
Just not 30.
Nor
or 22. Nor 22. But Jack Whiten's going up for a contract. He wants a new contract, possibly his last contract. He's 30 years old, he's going to a new contract. He's put himself on the open market, put himself out to pasture. Not really, but he...
That's the opposite of putting yourself out to pasture. It's putting yourself out to the stud.
To the stud.
To the stud.
And he says, which female cow wants me? But Liam, is he doing this to add a bit of value to that contract? To say, hey, if you get me, you've got me for every game. I'm not worried about that sky blue jersey. Is this a thought about money?
Now, he says he loves the sky blue, but does he love the green?
The green of money.
I believe medical cannabis is legal in Canberra. That's not what we're talking about.
No.
We're talking about the green that makes up the $100 bill who no one knows is on the front of.
Has his mind, the love of rugby league, has it been clouded by his green ink-stained money-grubbing fingers?
And it's all what we come back to with the RLPA. These communists are saying, look, you players need to do what's best for yourselves, for your families, for your careers.
Is that capitalist,
for your financial future? That's not what we want.
No.
We want these players to exhaust themselves, to run themselves into the ground for the maximum amount of money they can, like any good capitalist system would do.
When do you think is a good time to retire from representative football?
Never.
At the end of your career? Or
you should never retire. You should be made to retire by having your bones ground into dust. The only reason you should retire from State of Origin is if you're wheelchair bound.
If you're good enough, you should be there, Liam.
If you are confined to a hospital bed for the rest of your days, that's the only excuse I'll take.
You might see this with Cameron Smith, and he says, I'm 33 or however long, and he said, I'm going to give up representing football because he's won enough of them. Jack Whiten has not won enough football games in the sky blue jersey to retire.
I couldn't even tell you how many he has won.
Several. Maybe 1.
More than 0.
Maybe 0. I don't know.
I don't think it's 0, Nag.
He's been there. The love of the utility, Liam, in the New South Wales blue jersey. You know, everyone thought, well, he's going to be great at 14 because you can put him at 6. You can put him at 1. You can put him in the wing. You can put him in the back row.
A ball-playing lock a la Daly and Fittler, perhaps.
They love the idea of it. It's like having Craig Wing on the bench for, I don't know how long he was there, 25 years?
Well, that was just there to get the female viewership.
Oh, he's gorgeous, man.
He's a gorgeous man. He's stunning.
Well,
Truly stunning.
Jack Whiten.
On a wing and a prayer, I used to say.
Good-looking man also, Jack Whiten, but you've also said that his eyes are a little bit too close together.
Look, it was in fact my wife who said that. Thank you very much, Justice.
Not classically handsome, you could possibly say.
No, not classically handsome, but most men from the country aren't. If you're classically handsome in the country, you get run out of town.
No, of course. You go
You're taking all the Sheilas.
straight to the city.
Straight to the
That's
city.
where all the Sheilas
Those
live.
big, fancy city boys with their far apart eyes. They just look like fish.
One's here, one's in the next paddock. That's how far apart they are.
That's it. He's looking at one goal post and looking at the corner post with the other.
While we're talking about New South Wales.
Oh, yeah. Love doing that.
New South Wales Origin's coming up. It's round 7. You feel that tingle in your backside. And you think, woo, what's that? That's
Backside and the front side, mate.
that is Origin football approaching. And the best thing to talk about during Origin times is Origin bolters.
Now, Naggy, you've got an interesting Origin bolter here, and I think we need to get into a bit of an argument of semantics.
Of course.
Before we launch into this.
That's
Now,
the whole show.
Traditionally, in my opinion, this is conjecture. The show is nothing but unbiased conjecture.
Yeah.
Now, wild thoughts that we throw out into the ether and make no sense. Now, we want to discuss, before we launch into who our Origin bolters are, what constitutes a bolter, and I'll tell you what I think does first, Naggy.
Please
Now,
do.
for me, a bolter is someone who is considered a horse that is running away from a man who the man didn't think would run away.
Yeah.
How that applies to Origin,
Oh, he
I don't
bolts.
know.
He
as
bolts
I've
out.
lost my train of thought.
That's right. So it's not a racing term. It's not like it's like someone's on the horse. It's a horse. It's a manless horse.
What would happen if a horse kicked Andrew Bolt in the head? Would his IQ increase or decrease?
Be another key to the city. That's what I think. That's
the horse.
To the horse.
Well, you'd have to kind of, I don't know, go to a locksmith because you'd have to change the key because your hoof can't really.
Can't do it. Can't
They
turn.
haven't got a what's that?
Dexterity.
Yes. There's
Yeah.
no reciprocating thumb.
They don't have it.
They don't have it.
That's
They gotta
why
get- gotta-
we. That's why we ride them and they don't ride us.
So you got to do. You put Bradman and Best on the hoof, and then you got a thumb on the hoof.
Liam, who's your bolters?
Oh,
Who do you,
yeah, sorry.
Who do you like? Who
Look, I got a couple who I like. And one of them who I think is being under discussed because most people don't know who he is. I like Teague Wilton from the Sharks. And the Sharks have become my second team over the last couple of years because they're so damn likable.
When did this happen? Liam?
Well, this happened 2 years ago, but it was set in concrete last year.
I know when this happened.
By my father. Now,
Yeah.
listeners would know and viewers would know that my father grew up and I was raised a devout North Sydney fan.
Yes.
We bled red, we bled black, we bled white.
All of the colours.
And in last year, I said to my dad something I'd never asked him. I said, obviously, casting aside your thoughts on the Knights and the Bears,
Yeah.
who's your second team?
And he said,
And he said, well, son, the Cronulla Sharks. And I said, sir, why the Cronulla Sharks? And he said, well, because they were the only ones who hated Manly as much as the Bears. And from that moment on, I was hooked. I was hooked, and then they had some wonderful players, some very, very kind fellas. And I think
Teague Wilton.
Teague Wilton.
Yeah.
He's a left edge back rower. Now, that's a position that New South Wales are very strong in, but he just runs a beautiful line. He's a good, honest country boy as well from the far south coast.
You do love a country boy.
I love a country boy, just like our mate Jack Whiten. You know, he's not one of those city fancy boys.
No, eyes very close together.
Very close together. Touching the nose almost. But I think Teague Wilton's going to be one. Nico Hines is the obvious one, so I don't want to bring it up, but I will bring it up because he's
just did. Yeah,
he's so fantastic, Nico. You know, it's rare that you see a player like Nico Hines who's amazing at playing.
Yeah.
He's amazing at being good looking. And not only that, he comes out in the press and he says that Origin time, he hates
Queensland.
He used those exact words, and I love that about him.
But he's from the Central Coast. Where did he go to holiday?
A different part of the Central Coast?
Anywhere else?
I don't know. Do people
Central-
from Kincumber holiday in Terrigal? I don't know.
Of course we do.
I've been saying this for years.
It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the
Now, I've been
world.
saying this for years. To solve all the ills in this country, all of the bad things that happen, a lot of bad things happen in this country. All you got to do is build a wall around the Central Coast, have a bridge going over it, and just let the people there do as they please. Except a little door on the bridge to get to Nagy's house in
Of course,
Kincumber.
that's where I live. For myself, Liam, when I'm looking at bolters, I want to see someone with an Origin spirit, an Origin feel. They bleed blue because of some sort of deficiency.
Remember growing up, you always were taught that the blood was blue because there was no oxygen. We were had.
Well,
That whole
you
time
look
we
at-
were had.
Yeah.
It's not true at all.
the teachers have a lot to answer for. I think Joseph Swiley here can get a good look in on the wing.
Oh, now that's an interesting discussion to be had because, of course, Swiley is famously defecting to the Wallabies in 2025, which brings me to
He's defecting, but I don't think he's defective, Liam. I think he could be very effective.
Could be very effective.
Yeah.
But can you be effective if you are defective?
Oh, that's a
Some would say if your fridge defects and starts acting more like a freezer, you just got more freezer space.
More freezer until it freezes too much. And then it closes in.
Which is a waste of a good freezer space.
That's like rugby union. It's just closing in on rugby league.
But this brings up an interesting point, Naggy. We always talk in New South Wales for years. That was we need to build the team for the future. But Origin is once a year. It's but 3 games. Do you build for the future or do you win now?
Well, I hope to win now. The other player that I think has
the game hasn't started.
Has the spirit, has the feeling, Liam. It's Campbell Graham from the Campbell Graham. Yeah,
Campbell Graham, the most disinterested looking man in rugby league.
But he does so well, and when he's put on the wing, he looks great. I think he's also an Origin bolter for the wing spot.
Wonderful defensive centre.
Yeah, it makes a lot of one-on-one tackles.
I do.
You know, Matt Cooper made the Origin side for about 17 years because everyone said he was the best Origin centre, defensive centre, except we kept losing.
And he always looked very disinterested, much like Campbell Graham. A handsome man. I think he won best sexy man in rugby league a number of times.
Cooper, yeah.
You could never accuse Campbell Graham of being the best sexy man.
No, he's top 46, at least. He's at least. And also, of course, Liam, I know this is a player that you'd like, Regan Campbell-Gillard.
I love Regan Campbell-Gillard. He's fantastic. But this comes back to what we were discussing earlier about the definition of a bolter. Now, to me, and Naggy, I think we're going to have a healthy disagreement here. I can't expect any diatribes from either of us. But to me, a bolter is someone who's not been there before.
You're wrong. No, please say. Please.
It's a great diatribe. Yeah. To me, a bolter is someone who's not been there before. This is the first time. They're spooked. They're scared. That's why they're bolting. Regan Campbell-Gillard just sitting back like, yeah, I've been there. He can just slide back in. Oh, here we go. A bolter. One that bolts.
Oh, there we go.
Probably could have guessed that one.
It's really summed
Such
that up.
as a horse given to running away or a person who ends his or her affiliation with a political party. That's the opposite of what we're hoping to achieve. We want people to begin their affiliation with the political party of the New South Wales Blues.
It's going to be exciting the next few weeks. Who puts their hand up? Who picks themselves? As Joey always says, they picked themselves. Well, it's like, there is a team of selectors that is also doing that job.
Yeah, Joey quite definitively is wrong there.
And he's also probably one of those selectors. I don't understand how he thinks that players pick themselves for this team when it's a really very selected side. It's the exact opposite of what he's saying.
There's what's the things you do in science? There's hypotheses about who should play where.
Of course.
There's formulas about which player. There's tests. It's far from an esoteric thing.
Bunsen burners,
Bunsen burners. Yeah. That was always good fun when you got to muck around with the Bunsen burners.
Why were they allowed given to children? I have no idea.
Should have been illegal. But if they were illegal, that would be unconstitutional. It's every child's right to suffer third-degree burns as a preteen in a school.
Wave your hand over the flame and then change it to blue and then it's much hotter and wave your hand again.
No, the funniest one that we used to do was obviously have the tongs. You're not just going to put your hands in the Bunsen burner. Like some people did, but they were, not in the higher ranked science classes. But the funner thing to do was you'd hold a coin in the Bunsen burner. Yep. And then when someone would turn away, you drop the red hot coin onto their book and it would burn clean through.
Wow.
All of a sudden their notes are useless because they've got a big glaring hole in them.
Hashtag science.
A glory hole in a science book.
Science wins again. I was burnt by a spoon that was heated up by a Bunsen burner by Tim Buchan. Hope you're still listening, Tim. Now, Gus Gould.
Friend of the show.
The godfather of NRL. Because
the man who created it all. He was right there at the ship in 1908. I think Gus was. He was on leave from working at the Aristocrat Poker Machine Company.
Many credit him to be like the real saviour of the NRL. When there was a Super League war, he was there advocating for the ARL, which became the NRL. And really, it was the whole Channel 9.
Well, they both became the NRL.
Yeah, it was sort of everything. But,
did anyone really care about Super League?
I don't know. But let's look. We've got Gus up there now. And what's happening with his hair this week? We're not really sure.
It's some sort of auburn.
Auburn. That's what the one he's going for. Do you remember when he went completely grey for about 5 minutes?
And then conveniently was not completely grey about 5 minutes later. But he's been Ashley and Martin.
He's being silenced, Liam. He's been silenced.
He's being censored. And again, we come back to this woke culture. This woke culture where a man can't say what a man wants to say. Now, Gus has had some great things to say over the last year.
Some.
For example, The fact that the independent doctor is the worst thing to ever happen in the history of rugby league.
Well, he might engage with some hyperbole, Liam.
No, he must not. The independent doctor worse than any of the various crimes that have ever been committed by players. Any of the various crimes that have been committed by clubs.
Yeah.
Salary cap cheating. Drug cheating. All this cheating. No, it's the independent doctors. But the rugby league media won't let you have that. They won't let you believe that. Now, we here are very strong proponents of the alternative media.
Yeah.
We're the rugby league media that they don't write about in the presses, and we'll take Gus's word any day.
Potentially, some of the media that might be so small, we're actually recording from a local pub, the Hamilton Station Hotel.
It's a wonderful pub.
Very secret room. You'll never find us here recording on a Tuesday night. But Liam, can they silence someone's freedom of speech talking about the game?
Now, I'm glad you brought up freedom of speech, because that is something that this country was built on. Freedom of speech is the most important thing in the history of the world, and we must respect that. And what Gus is having done to him is a disrespect on par with... I don't know. With them censoring swear words on Big Brother Up Late.
Gandhi?
It's unconstitutional.
Is it on par with Gandhi, Liam?
I think I'm going to say it's on par with Gardening Australia. That was a great show. I won't hear a word against Peter Cundall.
Peter Cundall.
That man also is a national treasure, much like Philip Gould. And I believe they have the same barber.
These plants will grow great at night time.
What nationality was Peter Cundall?
No one knows, Liam. He's sort of Australian, sort of British, and a bit weird.
He raised from the soil one day, and there we are.
But now we've got
here we are.
We've got the new fellow, Costa.
Oh yeah,
Costa
looks Mediterranean.
Yeah, well, he looks something else, doesn't he?
He's definitely an out there character.
Huge.
If any rugby league player were to host Gardening Australia, Naggy, who do you think it would be?
I missed the question, Liam, but I don't.
Jack White, because he loves that green so much. The green of money, and the green of envy, looking at other players who are playing more than him, and the green of his jersey.
Liam,
Gardening Australia. Great show.
Tune in, ABC, 8 o'clock on Sundays. I'm assuming that's the time slot.
Remember when they used to show the Friday night game on delay because Burke's Backyard was a bigger television draw than the NRL?
Don Burke was huge.
He was massive.
Yeah.
He was everyone's favourite great uncle, but without the court case pending against him.
Liam, I know it hurt. It hurt a lot watching the game.
Don Burke?
Don Burke, it hurt a lot watching Don Burke.
Losing him from television was on par with having Gus censored. The two worst things to happen in the history of the Australian media.
None of us thought, Liam, that we could potentially match it with not only the greatest rugby league side of this year, but the greatest rugby league side possibly of the last several years. But looking back on the game on Saturday night. Saturday evening, 26,000 people. Nova Castries rocked up there to see
26,000 good, honest, hard-working people.
Yeah.
People who earn their money to pay for their ticket.
That's right. That's how the economy works.
And Ivan Cleary said that he disrespects us. The working man in the working class city, working for their ticket. I was working, so I missed the game.
How dare
I managed to. Now, this is unheard of, Jousters. I managed to go the whole night at work, the whole trip home, the whole game without seeing the result, and I was on tenterhooks for the whole game.
Eyes closed, fingers in the ears.
Yeah, I did. All social media was turned off, but no one messages me anyway, so that was no great loss. But the game really reminded me, there's this really interesting saying, and it's kind of a cornerstone of the philosophical tradition.
Please
saying,
share.
if I recall it off the top of my head, sometimes when you win, and this goes for the Newcastle Knights last month, perhaps. But sometimes, Naggy, when you win, you really lose. And sometimes when you lose, you really win. And sometimes when you win, you lose. And sometimes when you lose, you actually tie. And sometimes when you tie, you actually win or lose. Winning or losing is all one organic mechanism from which one extracts from what one needs. Now, this is a quote from one of the great existential philosophical texts of our time, 1992's White Men Can't Jump. I think it applies to the last few weeks for the Knights, Sometimes you win and you lose. Sometimes you lose and you win. Sometimes you read a sentence that's 4 paragraphs long and you lose track. And I'm sorry, Jousters, because that took an hour to say. But that's how I feel, Naggy. I feel like that was a moral victory.
I've always said that the Knights games that are close take years off my life, and off the back end of my life, not the ones out of the middle or anything like that.
Nor off the front of your life, because you've already had them. You can't take that away from you.
Spent them, but
you can't just go and edit your birth certificate and say, well, no, he was actually born in 1994.
I'm actually only 7 because I've watched every Knights game. It was so hard to live through, Liam, that first half. See everything that you wanted to see in 40 minutes of football.
Best 40 minutes of football the Knights have played in several years. I've said it, I've meant it, and I won't take it back, and you can't make me take it back, Ivan Cleary.
Near enough, wasn't quite good enough to get the 2 points, Liam, but we did take in the golden point. These were the premiers, Liam. They still are the reigning premiers.
Double premiers.
The double premiers.
And the losers from the one before, so like 2.5 premiers.
And we're the 14th place 2022 side, and we took them to Newcastle in front of a packed house, and we said, listen here, you patient Panthers. We're going to take you right beyond 80 minutes, and then you're going to cream us. So
almost immediately, in fact. You'll receive the ball from the kickoff, and you will kick a field goal within 2 seconds.
It was difficult to watch such a dominant first half fall into a second half, a slightly disarray, Liam. But also there was some moments where you think, that didn't need to happen. One of them was our very own Dane Gagai.
Dane Gagai, dear friend of the show. He's a wonderful man.
Fiery.
He's a wonderful man.
He's reached a point in his career where he's bitter. He's angry, and he uses that aggression and bitterness well.
And so he should. You know, when you get to that age, you're a crotchety old fella. You can say what you want.
Now, of course. And he used that freedom of speech, which we are a huge protector of.
Huge proponents of freedom of speech.
But he happened to say, fuck be dead, sir. Sir. The respectful sir, which then incorporated the referee into the swear.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, adding the sir on the end of any form of swearing or, any slurs that you might hurl as a referee.
Makes it
the
classier.
Respectful sir at the end. It makes it okay. It absolves that crime.
Yeah.
And makes it classier.
Penalised straight away.
He should have been patted on the back and said, you showed respect to that man.
Yeah.
By telling him to F off. And then called him sir.
It was almost an inward swear, Liam. It wasn't an outward swear.
A swear towards oneself, which is the most noble swear of all, in fact.
There was another penalty, Liam. Another penalty that swung the game. Another penalty that they scored a try almost immediately after.
It swung the game because it was Tyson Frizzell swinging off Jerome Luai's hair like Tarzan.
Now, Liam, hair pulling.
The man from the Disney show.
Hair pulling comes into everyone's life if you have a sibling. Because you realise you can really hurt that person.
I thought you were going to go a different direction with that.
Well, Liam, it comes into people's lives in
other ways that we won't cover on a family show.
Dibs and flows. But remember, if you ever have a fight with your sibling and you think, I can just pull their hair, and they're in a lot of pain. They're in a lot of pain. Some would say it's a cheap shot, but I would say it's just part of learning.
It's part of learning. And I think we're going to come back to that in our hats back on.
We will touch
on it more. But look, I think
accidental hair pull, Liam, wasn't worth a penalty.
Heavens no. I mean, if you look at the way that the tackle happened, it was clear that he was going for the yoke of the yoke of the collar. Yeah. He was going for the base of the neck.
The meat of the jersey.
The meat of the jersey. Yeah. And yet he got the flakes of the hair. Yeah. The hair. That's the bits you cut off that go onto the factory floor and get puts in the meat pies.
I can only hope that instead of the hair pull, it was the hair remove.
I remember Luke Keary did that upon Felice Kafusi that time.
If he had removed the hair entirely from Luai's head, then it would stop anyone else from making the same mistake.
So you're saying give away an early penalty by ripping a player's hair
clean
off. Scalping them with those sharpened football boots that we turned into shivs last week.
Yep.
Give that penalty away immediately. Bam, no problem. Problem's gone.
That's all I'm saying. One time. One penalty. That's all. Sure, you're holding players effectively their new wig of their own scalp in their hand.
But again, as we discussed last week, maybe the week before, I don't recall, what a way to die. Bleeding out on the turf at Marathon Stadium.
I know how I want to go, Liam.
Spread my ashes there. I've already got my wonderful wife, Brittany. I've made her sign the document that my ashes will go nowhere else except for the 50-metre line right in the middle of Marathon Stadium. I will also have a statue built, and every time the boys run out, they give me my statue a little kiss on the lips.
Little kiss. I would go out, Liam, as bald as the day I was born, with some other person holding a clump of my hair.
But I'll tell you,
as I bleed out screaming.
But like that great Dickensian novel, it really was a tale of two halves, Naggy. It really was. And I think the thing that makes me that derives joy from me is when you look at what the hell went wrong for Newcastle. We completed at 63%, only had 43% possession, outrun by 500 and some meters, and yet we only lost by one. It's half of 1 kilometre, further than you and I could run collectively. I tried to run 1 kilometre once, and I damn near killed me.
No, don't do it.
Remember doing the cross country at school? What a waste of time that was. Races should be short and sharp.
Yeah.
Running a race for like an hour is just a waste of time.
Too much.
Unless you're Steve Monaghetti.
Yeah.
National treasure. That man was an icon.
Liam, where the game really fell away is we scored enough tries to win that game, but we could not convert the tries. Now, Liam, this might be controversial. This may be controversial.
I know it's going to be because I think I know where you're headed.
I'm calling for the sacking of our long-time conversion coach. He's been there ever since Kirk Gidley left the team, and that is Mark Tukey, our conversion coach. He's toiled away there in behind the curtain, and he said, "Look, I'm going to get this team converting because I'm a very good try converter."
And we have stood by Tukes through thick and thin.
Yeah,
mostly thick. Never really had a thin period. We've stuck by Tukes for forever and ever. Amen. And yet, I think it's time. I think this finally broke us, Naggy.
It's time for him to go.
Time to end, the great relationship we've had.
Yeah.
The terrible coaching he's put up because we clearly still can't kick.
Can't kick.
But, he was a good fellow at the pub. So.
He's still saying the toe punt is the way to go. I said, no, Mark, no, it's not.
But the toe is straight. If you kick from around the corner kicking, which is the current style, it bends the ball.
The new style.
The new style.
Yeah.
Also, bring back the sand. Tukey always wanted that.
He always wanted the sand
back.
He loved the sand. He loved to play in the sand.
Just loved the beach.
Simple man, Mark Tukey.
Never seen a man build a sandcastle better than Mark Tukey.
Who is your hats off for this week?
Look.
Who did well, Liam, out of that very, very tough game where all the players left everything out in the field?
I want you to cast your eyes back, Naggy. Because it's a reading thing. Don't cast your ears back. Because no one really said it because it was on the internet. Newcastle Knights fans at the start of the year would have had you believing that Phoenix Crossland was worse than 700,000 other NRL players.
That's right. They would have.
They would have.
However,
he gets my Hatfield.
He
gets my hats off. Crossfield Bomland man gets my hats off for the week. His service from dummy half, fantastic.
Excellent.
The kick for the try, where it looked like Dan Safidi was going to get there, but it was a fake. He was fantastic. I think Crossland has proven to us, to the fans, to the doubters, to the haters,
especially the haters,
to the censors, to the people who want to censor Gus saying that Phoenix Crossland is best in the game.
He says no.
He says no. I'm a good, honest, blonde-haired boy from Newcastle.
The mop.
If that is in fact where he is from. His hair always looks wet too, like Nico Hines. He always looks like he has damp hair. Yeah. But Phoenix Crossfield Bomland gets my hats off for the week because he's great.
For me.
And there is no way he's the 800,000th worst NRL player in the comp.
No.
I won't hear it.
I won't hear it at all. Liam, for me, it is Tyson responsibly.
What a man.
I know. He's coming to this side. Probably not going to, at the beginning of the season, you think, where does he fit in? He's found his spot, Liam. Yeah. Not only did he score the first try, but then he keeps us in the game with a field goal.
A remarkable field goal as well.
Possibly could have seen that he could kick a field goal. I wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't expecting it either, Naggy. Nor should we expect it from him, because that's how he did it.
We love those surprises. Yeah. Tyson responsibly, please.
And then he scored that beautiful try with the dummy pass.
Yeah.
Fooled him. All ends up.
They're still looking the other way.
They still don't know what's going on.
Where did that go?
If ever there was a player who was born not in Newcastle, but was born to play in Newcastle, it's Tyson responsible.
Who's your hats back on, Liam?
My hat's back on, Naggy, and this has made me furious to my core and makes me think that we should censor the NRL media even more.
Yeah.
The commentators. Now, I don't know if you Jousters watched on Fox League. KO, perhaps, if you can afford $25 a month.
What a fancy boy.
Fancy boy. It's all right. I just use Dad's. Thanks, Greg. I don't know if you noticed this.
No.
But as the team was about to kick off, Penrith was about to kick off in the second half, Mick Ennis waxed lyrical about Lockie Miller, as we all do all the time. Warren Smith waxed lyrical about Lockie Miller, as we do all the time.
I couldn't get enough of that Moscow Olympian.
And nor should they get enough, because there's not enough of him to get. He always does more than expected. And Warren Smith, I believe, he said As Cleary was running in for the kickoff, as soon as the boot connected, he said, Lockie Miller has been a diamond in the rough, a star find. And then he knocked it on. The commentator's curse strikes again.
Hats back onto the commentator's curse.
Censor the NRL media.
We're going to have a halftime break.
No, we're censoring Gus.
We're censoring. Well,
I forgot who we're censoring.
We can censor whoever we like.
Censor everyone.
We're going to take a halftime break. We'll be right back after this to talk about injuries, New South Wales Cup, the preview for next week, as well as Liam Sack and Pie of the Week. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. Now, Liam, we got the game this weekend against the Cowboys, and where's that been playing?
I don't care, because it's not near a train station named Hamilton.
It's not in Newcastle, Liam. It's actually very, very difficult to get to if you lived in Newcastle, but where do you go?
It would take several days if you were to take public transport.
Oh, you couldn't get there. You couldn't. No, not
and nor would you try.
Not convenient.
Why would you go up there?
Where's the next
box? Jellyfish.
It's all sharks,
swimming
crocodiles,
knives, saltwater crocodiles.
They're all there.
Crime.
That irukandji, those tiny little.
That's a box jellyfish.
No, they've
already covered that one.
They're very, very small, and they give you the worst pain
and they're
ever.
Invisible.
Yeah. Invisible killers, or at least invisible pain inflictors, Liam. But where would you go if you want to watch the Knights game and get a real Newcastle feel?
Look, it's got to be the Hamilton Station.
Hamilton Station Hotel, Liam, is the
pub.
only place you can get to. If you can't get to the stadium where the game's been played, you get to the Hamilton Station Hotel.
And if you can't get to the Hamilton Station, then just move.
Just
you're living in a shithole.
Liam, you've been doing some things.
Yes.
With pastries.
Oh, I love pastry, Naggy, especially when it's stuffed with, indefinable pieces of meat.
Yeah. We can't tell what they are because it's covered in gravy.
And nor should you.
Liam, what's your pie of the week this week?
Look, there are certain people who would say to you that the servo pie has no role in Australian cuisine, and I would disagree. I would disagree. That is an elitist way to look at the world. That is a way to look at the world without joy.
Yeah.
Because the servo pie holds a very important role in society.
Yes.
It's an accessible pie.
Yeah.
I finished work at... What time did I finish work today? 5 o'clock, Naggy?
5 o'clock, I think, yeah.
What time did I meet you at the station? The Hamilton Station.
The Hamilton Station.
Met you there about 5:30?
5:30.
Now, you name a bakery that's open at 5:30. Besides Little Jack Horner's in Argentine, 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. You couldn't do it.
I can't, yeah.
They all closed. Bakers, they start their day at 3 in the morning. They shut at 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
There's no bakeries open then.
Where do you go for your pies?
The servo. Now, today's servo pie was the 7-Eleven pie. And, the servo pie, while not being, stupendously, incredibly wonderful, it's still great.
Stupendous.
The pastry,
but it wasn't superfluous. No,
it's the pastry's always a bit too crunchy. The meat's always a bit too lukewarm for your worry.
Yeah,
but you can smash it down in a heartbeat. And for that very reason, those many reasons I just named, I have a lot of respect for the servo pie, and I love them. And you know what try reminded me of the servo pie?
What try, Liam?
Dane Gagai. Tyson Frizz.
Tyson Frizz.
Because it wasn't a particularly pretty try. It wasn't flashy. It didn't have the best beef. It didn't have big chunks of beef.
No.
It didn't have a flaky pastry that
wasn't
makes
flaky.
you think of a light cloud sailing across the sun.
It wasn't delicate.
It wasn't delicate.
No, but it was
but
what
it did
you
the
needed.
job.
Yes.
And it was enjoyable. And that's exactly what our try of the week was. It got the job done. It was enjoyable. It was no frills. It was definitely Sans frills.
Sans frills.
But it was with frizz, but no frills. It was wonderful, and I enjoyed every second of it. So try of the week, pie of the week. Get over your elitism and go to the damn servo.
Look at the
3
team.
Michelin stars.
7:35 on this Saturday, Liam. At the very, very end of Super Saturday, we're taking on the Cowboys. The Cowboys are sitting dead last, it looks to be.
They're having a terrible time of it.
But we're sitting up there somewhere in the middle of the table. I won't say it's in the top 8 because it's not. We're sitting in 11th. But we have a certain...
But it's a strong 11th. It's a gentleman's 11th.
A gentleman's 11th. We're on the cusp of the 8, Liam. And
I've never cusped quite so hard as I did on Saturday.
We've got some players welcoming back into the side this week, Liam. The first and foremost is our marquee player, Kalen Ponga. Welcome back from Canada. Boing. Yeah, we haven't got the sound effects.
Yeah, we forgot the iPad. That's on me. Kalen Ponga, he came back from Canada. I picked him up at the airport. It's a long flight, and that's something I can resonate with. So I picked him up from the airport, and I said, "Look, KP."
Yeah.
I spoke to AOB. I had a chat.
Yeah, what did he say?
A brief chat.
Yeah.
It was a brief chat, but it was a good chat.
Passing in the elevator.
Passing in the elevator.
Yeah.
I hit the emergency button so the elevator stopped so I could badger AOB much longer. And I said, look, Kalen, we're going to put you back in. Straight back in.
Yeah.
And he said, Liam, is that wise? And I said, yes, Kalen, it's very wise.
Because we were thinking 14 for a while.
We were.
So
I don't know why. No, you were thinking that.
Well, I like the idea of 14, Liam. I like the idea of bringing him on after a bit of argy-bargy with the forwards.
Yeah, I prefer where AOB's going with the 14, but we will get back to that because there is another big in, Naggy.
Yeah.
Who is this enormous in we've got?
Jacob Saifidi, the other twin, the other one.
The second tower that fell not long after the first one.
That's right. If we cast our minds back to that terrible, terrible day.
That terrible day where Cheese TV was cancelled. May Cheese TV rest in peace.
It was Jacob Saifides walking back into the side. Off the bench, Liam, off the bench.
The way it should be.
Hiding down there, lower in the
team list.
In the team list.
That's the word you're looking for.
That's the one, exactly right. And it was lower in the team list because he's not starting. We're going to bring him on as an impact player. And Liam, if you remember back last week, I said I think we're a big man short.
You did say that, and I think the world agreed with you, Naggy, because you were right.
Yeah,
you were right. And not to say that our somewhat undersized bench, with no disrespect to the bench players, not to say that they didn't contribute.
No,
they contributed very well.
Of
but I
course.
think another big man would have made an enormous amount of difference.
And hopefully, Liam, this week is going to be an enormous amount of difference because we have a poor record up there, Liam. I remember almost 2 years ago we were watching the game together. Yeah. Might have been 3 years ago. I don't know. Time flies. It's all time's fluid.
Time is a flat circle.
Exactly. And we were watching. We thought, the Knights are in with a shot here. And we can possibly win up there in Townsville, but we don't win up in Townsville. The last time we won up there was in 2015.
That was before box jellyfish were discovered.
2015 in March. But we just don't win up there in Townsville.
Oh, it's because it's hot.
It's hot. We have to travel. It's
muggy.
It's at the end of Australia. It may as well be at the
town.
End of the earth. We go up there. We think.
Name one good thing that's ever come out of Townsville.
Irukandji jellyfish. They do a great job.
You know, I ate jellyfish once.
On purpose?
On purpose. I really didn't enjoy it.
Mm.
It was at a banquet.
No one does.
It was at a banquet. And it was like a 27-course banquet, and the jellyfish was the low light of the banquet. Please, Justice, don't eat jellyfish.
Liam, can this Newcastle Knights side, now with Kalen Polgar at 6, our trusty leader on the field, Jackson Hastings at 7, we got the other Safidi, the other tower back, Phoenix Crossland proving himself at 9, as well as a bit of a change in the team with Hurt Man back at 13. Hopefully he doesn't hurt himself again.
As would be tradition, hence the name.
You can't drop a player like Tyson responsibly.
You can't drop a player like Tyson responsibly. That would be censorship.
So we've moved him back to 14, Liam. We've moved him back to 14.
Yes.
How do you see him coming into the game at 14? Do you see
brilliantly?
Do you see Hurt Man possibly moving into the hooker position and freeing up that 13?
The way I would have it is to just put Tyson responsibly on as a ball-playing lock. Now, we talk Fittler. We talk Daly.
Yeah.
We talk about big bodies, Jack Whiten.
Yeah.
Big bodies, ball play, they can move.
Yeah.
They can have a bit of fun. They can just be themselves. And if anyone has to be themselves to win in rugby league, it's Tyson responsibly.
He's a wonderful player. We're
wonderful
so happy to have him here.
The Newcastle man himself.
Now, if you think...
Is he from the Central Coast?
No. He's from somewhere else. Queensland, I think. He's from somewhere up there. No, yeah. He's
Can we get our boffins on that? Where's Tyson responsibly from?
Liam,
the boffins are on it, ladies and gentlemen.
When you think Cowboys of the last, 8 years, who is the player that you think of?
Got to be Jason Taumalolo.
He's not there, Liam.
What?
He's not there.
The audacity of that man, the disrespect on the Knights, for him to say, hey, I'm the best player in the team and you can still beat the Knights without me. That is inherently disrespectful. That is an insult to Newcastle.
Yeah.
That is a slap in the face of the greatest working class city in this country. And I won't stand for it.
No. Well,
look, I don't mean to disrespect Jason Taumalolo.
Oh, please do. Please do. Disrespect him.
Bugger you.
But you've let
Get a dog up you.
You've let yourself down, Jason.
You've let your team down. You've let your country down.
Hopefully.
Oh, no, he's New Zealand. He hasn't let New Zealand down.
Tonga.
Oh, sorry, yeah, he did defect to Tonga. He has not let Tonga down. He was a very good, proud representative of Tonga. And I will not hear you say that Jason Taumalolo has let Tonga down.
We've got our backs up against the wall, Len. We need a win. Did we play our grand final last week? We don't know.
I hope not, because then we lost the grand final.
It's all going to be. It's all going to be on this game whether we can stay up there with the hoity-toity fancy boys. Liam, what's your
latte sipping far north Queensland cattlemen?
What's your score prediction for this week?
Look, the fun thing about the Cowboys is that they like to attack. They like to throw things around. They like to throw spanners in the work. They like to have fun.
Yeah.
Coach Todd Payton,
Yeah.
maybe had a bit of an outlier year last year. His first year, they were terrible. Second year, they did really well. Now they're terrible again.
Yeah.
So that excites me.
It's the rhythm.
It's the rhythm.
Yeah.
The rhythm of the rhythm of the night. Like that great song. It's the rhythm of the night. That song. It's a wonderful song. I am thinking, especially with attacking prowess of Scott Drinkwater. He's fantastic. I love that guy. He's from the Central Coast, actually.
I think so. I think so. What is your score prediction for this game, Liam?
34-28.
That's a high-scoring game.
It's a high-scoring game, but it'll be tight until the end.
And that's the Knights winning that game?
Yes.
Oh, whoa, fancy. Well, I think it's going to be 26-16, also to the Newcastle Knights.
I like that score as well. That's a handsome score.
You see, the Cowboys have been in these sort of dogfights, and they keep losing them. But the Knights have been in these dogfights, and sometimes they've won them, and sometimes they've lost them, and sometimes they've drawn them. We've done it all, Liam. We've got a smorgasbord of results.
What else is there to do?
Win another one, Liam.
Oh,
okay. That's what it's
going
to be.
Now, I'm glad you brought up the dogfight, because the irony in all of this is that the Cowboys mascot is not a cowboy, but an Australian blue heeler dog. Dogs which are well known for being in dogfights.
This is new to me. Is this true? This is
very true.
They got the mascot is actually. I thought they had a mascot that was like a cowboy with a big hat.
Well, they got that, but they also have a blue heeler.
Right.
Like the show.
Blue Heelers.
Yeah, about dogs.
It
was about competitive dog shows. They filmed it mostly at that, you know when you're going down Hillsborough Road and there's that dog showground? It's like, what a niche facility to build. It's a dog showground. It must get used like twice a year. What a waste of our taxpayers' money. I pay taxes to the Lake Macquarie City Council and they're spending it on a dog showground.
Yeah. Yeah.
Despicable.
I thought Blue Heelers was about that little town in Victoria that had 17 policemen
and so many murders.
So many murders and crime.
It's like Midsummer Murders.
And
one pub with Angela.
One pub.
No. There's not a small town in Australia with one pub.
Yeah, well, this one did.
It didn't.
What was it called?
Mount Smart Stadium?
Mount something. It could be the Mount Smart Stadium.
Well, that's how you can tell.
Mount Isa. Mount Isa.
Mount Where Isa. But look, I think there's a couple of plays we want to stand up, and I don't think we can deny the impact that the suit and the haircut can have. Fitz and the frizz. Those boys really stood up last week. They stood up, and I'm excited to see the further development of Matt Croker. This man's turning into a hell of a footy player.
Absolutely.
Especially as part of that big bench rotation we've got now.
Yeah, huge.
I love Matt Croker. He's wonderful.
What about the Red Mist? Do you reckon he's going to get more than 19 minutes this game?
He bloody better. I would hope that he does, and I think that he deserves to. And maybe if he gets more than 19 minutes, they'll put up a real photo of him on the team sheet so that we don't have to use the one that is merely 240 pixels. Philip, get on it, mate. The Red Mist deserves a proper high-definition photograph.
It's enough from us, Liam. We better open that sack of yours. Open that up. What have we got inside this week? It's a bustling sack. It was full of familiar faces and
vim and vigor. So much vim and vigor. First one, William Williamson. Wilson. Dear friend of the show. Wonderful guy. Kelly asks us and would like to know our opinion and our thoughts on Golden Point versus the traditional extra time period, then Golden Point after, or just a good old-fashioned draw. Now, I think we are well qualified to speak about this because all three of those things have happened in the last couple of weeks to us. And to me, the feeling is I don't know. I don't know. I love them all. If I could have all those options, I would. If I could say I want a draw, I want a Golden Point win, I want a Golden Point loss, I want to win, I want it all. Whatever happens, as long as it means I get to watch rugby league, I don't care.
If the scores are locked, approaching 80 minutes, the score's ticking down, but everyone knows in the back of the mind that Golden Point's there.
It's more fun.
Do we take the Golden Point away and we say, this is your Golden Point?
The
78th to 80th minute, that's your Golden Point time. Score 1 point.
Works.
Yeah, it's like just knowing that it's like, well, it's going to go to extra time. We can all have a breather. Yeah.
That's rude.
Maybe take the Golden Point away.
Yeah.
And 80 minutes, lock scores, that's your draw. Share the points, boys.
Now, one thing that a lot of people say, and I disagree with, because you're all wrong when you say this, they hate field goal shootouts. Now, I've spent a lot of time around rugby union. I've played a lot of rugby union. I watched a lot of rugby union.
Yeah.
A good Golden Point field goal shootout can be a thing of beauty, a la
In
the
rugby union
2003 Rugby World Cup
Okay, of
final.
course, yeah, right.
And that can translate into rugby league.
Yeah.
Because it still involves hustling your way up the field. It still involves you dominating the opposition.
Of course.
It still involves the strategy of getting into place.
Yes.
So I, for one, don't mind.
It's like a chess game.
They're rugby league players. They're not that smart. It's
Like
a checkers game.
checkers game.
Yeah, it's checkers.
We can go to the end of the board and then you just jump everything back and then you get the...
Which seems like cheating. It feels like cheating.
Put the one checker piece on the other checker
Yeah.
piece and then that's more strong because you can work backwards. I don't know.
They
how
can't really
checkers
make
works.
a checkers board fancy.
What else do we have in the sack, Liam?
Oh, yeah, Kelly, we answered your question. Sorry, mate. Michael Edwards, first time in Liam's sack. Welcome, Michael. It's roomy in there. There's lots of room. We'd love to have you in there. It's going to take a lot to fill that thing. I hope it's not the last, and nor should be. Please contribute again. Did you guys hear the Newcastle chant go up after Penrith won? I didn't,
It was
because
deafening. It was
my
deafening.
heart
Liam.
was in my mouth.
Yeah.
And that mouth was overflowing into my ears.
Yeah.
And all of my organs were just bleeding out of me. So I didn't hear it, but I heard the Newcastle chant go up so many times, and it was amazing.
Look, it's great to see the Newcastle supporters. 26,000 of them, Liam. The stadium packed to the rafters. There was
My
people,
hair was standing on its end.
There were people in Broadmeadow houses surrounding on the roofs chanting, Newcastle, Newcastle. And it was great to see a lot of support for a team that's left everything out there.
26,000 supports.
Supports of all of them. And they said, you know, for years we've said all we want is a team that's competitive.
And we have that.
We have that now. And we got that. And I think that's why the crowd was proud. It was wonderful, Liam. What else do we have in the
Good,
sack?
proud, honest Newcastle people doing it. Good, proud, honest Newcastle people doing it. Except me, because I was working. I'm a terrible Newcastle person. Now, Nick Milley and Sam Fallon. Very similar questions, boys. So we are going to take these as one question. Serious question says, Nick, should hair pulling be legal? It's part of the body like any other. And Sam Fallon, should O'Brien instruct the boys to grow their hair to jersey collar length to unlock future opportunities to gain penalties for hair pulling? Now, I forgot to mention it, but I had another hats back on earlier. Hats back on should go to Jerome Luai, because if he was wearing a hat in the game,
A hats, yeah.
he would not have had his hair pulled. Should it be compulsory for a player with long hair to wear a hat? And if so, what hat should they wear? Should they wear, and this is my opinion,
Yep.
and let it be known that this is my opinion, this is no one else's, any player with long hair should wear one of the wide-brimmed hats with the corks dangling off.
Yep.
And if you can rip 2 corks off of that,
Yep. You have to go down. You have to,
it's a turnover.
It's a turnover.
Because if you get caught by the corks on your hat, you're not doing a good enough job of being an evasive rugby league player.
I'll throw you a second option. The only hat equipped to stop that sort of hair tackle, and that's the Legionnaire's hat.
Now, Maggie, were you one of the kids in high school? No, not high school, the one before that.
Primary school.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Were you one of the kids in primary school who defied the authorities
Yeah.
and wouldn't be censored and tuck the flap up into the hat?
Oh no, I wore the flap proudly, Liam.
pride.
It was with pride, and especially all these players now. The trendy mullet, you see, everything's got like your hair. It's like a barrister's wig.
I thought it was like more like Beethoven.
Anything that you've got to do, you get the flap down, and it protects it. Maybe you can tuck the flap in
to protect from the UV rays of the
Exact-
sun, which is the leading cause of death in Australia.
Which is exactly why I wore one as a child, and I'd love to wear one again. But to protect that, and also you can tuck the hair into the jersey, have the flap down, and then look, a tackle on the flap, that's allowed, no penalty.
That sounds a bit rude, a tackle on the flap.
Look, that's just the rules. We're bringing it back in.
Look, we're bringing hats back. Slip, slop, slap, and wrap. Wear your Legionnaire's hat
Slip, slop, slap.
to keep away the terrible UV radiation that will lead to your untimely death. 50% of Australians will have a cancerous mole removed in their lifetime, and that's not good enough. Wear your cap with the flap down, you morons.
Yeah.
Milos Andrew. Milos.
Milos.
The man who gave us our first stand-up comedy start. Thank you, Milos, for not scrubbing us from your brain after that. If you could pick one player from the past 5 years to pop in the squad, who would it be now? Milos. We're going to take a bit of a guess, a bit of a stab at your ambition here. If you could pick one player from the last 5 years in the whole NRL, or if you could pick one player from the last 5 years from the Knights.
Yeah.
I really wish I had thought about this question before we got here. Now, who do you reckon?
I like Nick Meaney. I think we should welcome him back. I think he's been such a great servant to both the Bulldogs and Melbourne Storm and everything. You watch him play and you think, gee, he's good. But he used to play for us and we let him go.
Now-
I think because we saw him as a fullback. but he's playing everywhere on the wing and in 5/8 and wherever they put him, he just does well. And he can kick goals, Liam. He can kick goals. He left Mark Tukey. And he says, I'm going to do this myself.
He finally learned not to use his foot as a club, but as a kicking implement.
Detached himself.
Because that was Tukey's thing. He just liked the foot going as a pendulum.
Yeah.
Like, there was no finesse. It was just...
No finesse. No.
And on a similar vein, Naggy, would maybe you be offended if I said Josh King might
I won't. I would not be offended.
Well, he probably left more than 5 years ago.
No. Well, he left very recently. It was only
he
2
did
years
leave
ago.
very... I was only 2 years ago.
2 years
Time
ago.
flies
2 years
when
ago.
you're not jousting. So maybe Josh King I'd bring back. Does he fit into this team?
I think he does. I think you can put him anywhere. He's a very, very well player. He's a very good boy. Look, he's proven himself to be an excellent player. He was much maligned when he was here. Much maligned. Everyone wanted him gone. And as soon as he's gone, he's performing.
I think it speaks volumes about Nathan Brown as a coach. That as soon as he leaves Nathan Brown's Newcastle system, he's good.
Good.
Yeah. So anyway, Milos, was that of the last 5 years? Yeah.
Yes, that was exactly.
Surely. Let's bring 2 local boys.
Local boys.
No, sorry, Nick Meaney's a Lismore boy.
Is he really?
Oh, yeah, Group 1. It's disgusting. Terrible.
Do you have anything?
That's it.
Anything else in the sack? Is that your empty sack, Liam?
Good question. Daniel Kerslake, more a comment than a question, but I like it because it fluffs up my ego. We are improving this year, and we approve of the improving. And it's been since Liam got back. Coincidence? Question mark?
I doubt it.
I doubt it also. In fact, I would say I doubt it enough to say no.
Hopefully it is a stern no. It is not a coincidence.
No.
Liam came back to the country. The team's playing better again. We're back podcasting, and it's wonderful to have you with us once again, Jousters.
Each and every one of you.
If you
except
like
you,
us,
Ivan Cleary.
If you like us, please like us on all the social pipes.
And
Facebook.
if you don't like us, you're censoring the NRL alternative media.
YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify. I don't know if we're still on Spotify, but we'll soon find out. We are on Spotify. Thank you very much, Boffins at the back. Thank you very much, Jousters, for joining for another week. Please join us next week again for our coverage of the Anzac round, which will be very exciting to watch.
We're doing it for the Diggers.
Doing it for the Diggers.
And every one of you should also.
And remember, if you can't get to the stadium, get down to the station. Thanks very much, Jousters. We'll see you again next week.